Hi everybody, this is Meg. I'm here with Henri Saha. I hope I pronounced that right,
Yeah,
Henri.
very good.
Henri helps people love the life they live or create a life they love, which is a pretty fab thing to do. We're going to talk about mindset. Henri put a post in the group about a week ago, just asking you guys about what kind of mindset problems you have with relation to connecting with your ideal clients. And the biggest thing that came up was feeling uncomfortable when you're trying to close a sale. But let's just go back a second, Henri. And what does mindset mean in terms of what you do?
So, yeah, good question. I mean, I suppose I've studied psychology and I've worked with sort of traditional psychology for about 10 years. And mindset is for me, mindset is like a really kind of accessible term that people use. People kind of talk about it. So for me, what it is really just the mind. I don't actually believe in mindset. I use the term mindset because people seem to resonate with it. But
Okay.
fundamentally, what mindset is just how the mind works and how our thoughts and feelings are created and how our experience of life is created. That's what I talk about when I talk about mindset, which really isn't mindset as a lot of people talk about it. But for me, that's the way I speak about it.
That's cool. Because you work from, was it sports performance you worked in before?
That's right. Yeah. So for the last 5 years, I've been working with sort of performance coaching, so professional sports people. So yeah, very much, performing when it really counts, and also kind of doing your best when you're not at your best, doing enough to get over the line and that kind of thing. So trying to kind of stay in the game when things aren't going too great. And I think that really relates as well to business. You don't have your best days and you've got another sales call and you've got to kind of pick yourself up and you've got to kind of reset yourself. And I think that's where it comes in pretty handy, to be fair.
It's being your mindset.
It being your mind, yes. And
Your mind. Yeah.
your mind, but also understanding of your mind. That's the thing. Because a lot of people, we don't have an education system which teaches us about how our mind actually works. And so I struggled with this for a while because I did psychology for so long. It's kind of second nature to me. Whereas, other people might have studied like engineering or marketing or, politics or something. And so their understanding of what's going on from a psychology point of view isn't, they don't have one because they've just never even looked in that direction. But then, yeah, absolutely. Like my understanding of what's going on has just deepened and deepened over the last year, from looking at it in slightly different view and from a slightly different way as well.
So, okay, so what is going on, Henri? Let's start there.
So should we go to the question? Because I think that's a good place to contextualize it. So what is going on is, so the question, the one at the top, sort of the one that lots of people clicked on, was why do I find closing the sale so uncomfortable? So what is going on? For me, it's like a binary system. You're either connected to the moment and you're connected to the person in front of you and you're aware of that connection, or you're not. It's just a binary system. And when you're not, you're preoccupied. And so, for example, why do I find closing the sale so uncomfortable? I would say, without knowing every detail of what everyone's going through, but I would imagine you're probably preoccupied by something else, such as, I really need this client. I really need I really need £300. Like I had bloody dart charge. I forgot to pay the Dartford crossing and I had a £75 bill come through my door. So it's like, you're thinking, Oh, as I'm closing the sale, I'm like,
you're gonna
oh,
pay for my dart charge.
yeah, I got to pay for my dart charge, and my MOT's just gone through, and you can't like you can't control what's going to happen. Like that's like you can't control the thoughts that are going to come into your head, and the preoccupation's going to happen. So it could be anything. It could be any of these things, and it could be, oh, I don't know if my prices, I don't know if they're going to pay the prices, I don't know if they're going to value it. Have I given enough value in this call to make them see the value of paying for this, and all that kind of stuff. Like all that kind of stuff will just go through your head when you're coming to closing the sale. And the reason that happens, there's a really good series of books, audio books that I would highly recommend to anyone. Actually, it's called The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy. And what he talks about is the sales call. And I'm just trying. He says like a sales call. It's like, let's say that it's like this in length, right? Let me just try. Right, there's the sales call in length, and the tension is really low at the beginning of the sales call. But as it starts to go to the end of the sales call, the person who is selling is starting to get tense because they're like, I'm going to make an offer. And then the person who's having the sales call is also getting tense because they haven't been offered anything yet, right? And
they're not getting tense because somebody's going to be, somebody's about to give them an offer. It's because they haven't been given an offer.
Exactly. Well, because they haven't given an offer, they know one's coming.
Oh, okay.
Do you see what I mean? So they're like, oh, what's it going to be? Am I going to be able to afford it? Is it going to be like a monthly thing? Is it going to be? So basically,
you're both up in your heads thinking
you're
stuff.
both up in your head, preoccupied.
Yeah.
You're not connected to one another. Generally, depends on the individual and how you obviously, how you manage that sales call. But generally, there's this tension that swells until the point where you offer it. And by the time you offer it, both of you are so preoccupied that it feels very uncomfortable for both parties. And what that happens is that's not an environment which is conducive to anybody making a good decision, or B, either party being comfortable with what's going on. So that is essentially why closing the sale can feel really uncomfortable, because of the preoccupation, of the preoccupation of the person who is making the offer, and also the preoccupation of the person who's receiving the offer. And that's essentially why. So
that reminds me of, there's that book, isn't there? And I've only read a bit of it, but it's The Inner Game, isn't it? And the guy was talking, he says, the inner game of golf. Yeah. And he gets people better, or tennis as well. I think it was tennis and golf, but he gets people better at their game. They're convinced they can't hit a ball, or they're convinced they can't catch, or they can't throw, or something like this. And he takes them out of their heads. He kind of puts them in a place where they've got nothing going on in their minds.
Absolutely.
And they just get better.
Absolutely.
And it's like, it's not a mindset so much as just your mind being full of stuff that's just getting unaware of what's actually going on.
Oh, 100%. And what you've got there is you've got a guy, I don't look at too much psychological research anymore, but there's a guy called Csikszentmihalyi. He's got a brilliant name, and it's
that's a pretty awesome name, isn't it?
It's Csikszentmihalyi. It's about 25 letters long. He's a Russian guy, and he's been studying what he calls flow states for the last 50 years. And that flow state is that place of no thought. And it's what I was describing before, where it's binary. It's either you're thinking about stuff and you're preoccupied, or you're completely immersed in the present moment. And what he talks about is when people are at their very highest performance in dance, in sport, in music, there is no preoccupation. There is just pure flow, and you know, you don't even know what's going on. You're just acting automatically. And when you're in that place, it's far easier to connect with other human beings and connect with the task that's in front of you when you're not thinking about what the consequences are, or you know, what your bank balance looks like, or what, you know, what kind of referrals. I'll give you a really good example. For example, the other day I had an interview. I had a job interview, and I'd actually had an intake conversation with a company who are looking at, you know, potentially I'm going to do some work for them. So I've got my own company, but then I'm also looking at this job that looked really good, and I've got this job interview. And as I'm driving to this job interview, I'm thinking, what if they give me the job and then this other company want me to do that training?
Yeah.
So then what I'd have to do is I'd have to make sure I'm flexible. I'll have to tell the job that I'm going to be flexible because I've got this other contract. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You're solving a problem that doesn't even exist yet.
Oh man.
Like, your thinking has just goes for it sometimes. And I was driving and I just started laughing. I was like, what on earth am I doing? And so when I talk about mindset, I talk about understanding that you can't control your thoughts, you can't control your thinking, but you absolutely, like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, I can't, I look at it now, and you know, you have these kind of, you have these examples that are really funny. Like that example, I thought was just really funny. And you can kind of see it for what it is, which is you're imagining a future where everything goes well and you've got a problem, right?
Yeah, there's a problem to worry about, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't want it to go too well.
Exactly. I was like, oh, well, what if I get both of these contracts and then I've got to sort something out? But what happens is lots of people anticipate negative consequences far more than they do positive consequences.
Yeah, so why is that?
Because they believe that their thinking is telling them something about the future and about a possible consequence. But it absolutely isn't. All it's telling you is, again, that you're just preoccupied and you're not connected to the moment that's in front of you. So again, I just bring it all back to that binary system. You're either connected to the moment in front of you, or you're preoccupied with something else. When you're preoccupied, it's not reality. That's not reality. Reality exists right in front of you right now. And I was driving the car, and you know, you can imagine that out of those two places, where do most car accidents happen? Do you know what I mean? Most car accidents are going to happen when the person is preoccupied by something.
Sales conversation then. So you're at the point where you've got, you know, they're getting close. They're both really tense. The reality in the moment is tension, isn't it?
Absolutely, 100%.
But then that's not what you want, is it?
That's not what you want. So what I wanted to, I think we kind of got slightly off topic. So
you didn't, but because it's really relevant. But I kind of thinking
totally. How can we? Yeah. Oh no, absolutely, absolutely. Like, that is realistic, and that happens. And I've had that so many times, and I'm sure you have, and I'm sure people watching this have had that. It's like embarrassing. It's like, oh, now I'm gonna ask you for money. Please, can you give it to me? And they're like, oh, I'm not really sure if I want to give you any money. So what we want to do, because that's totally real again, and that experience is totally real in that moment. So what I would suggest is that you in the way that we use this understanding to in a practical way is to totally not create that situation. So from the very beginning of your sales call, or whatever you want to call it, you know, you say, look, today I'm not going to offer you anything. You know, you say it straight up. You're like, look, I'm not going to offer you anything. This is going to be a no pressure conversation. At the end of the call, if it feels to both of us that it might be a good thing to have another call, or if it feels like, you know, you want to explore this in more detail, then we'll book another call. But what I would suggest is, and the reason that I would do that, and the reason I would probably just elongate the sales or the intake process slightly, is because the way I see it is that if someone's going to buy something from you, like, it's like if you go to buy a car, you want to test drive the car first. You want to have a look inside. You want to play with all the little knobs and dials and stuff on it. So you want to give your clients an experience of what it would be like to work with you on a more profound level than just like a 1 hour call or a half an hour call or something.
Yeah.
Because
So we're not talking about people who are selling like something for a few pounds. Then we're talking about when you're selling a service, like a package for
I think
a respectable amount of money. Then.
I think anything, like, you've got to, I think it depends. I think if you're you know, if your service is sort of on the cheaper end, on like the lower cost end, I still think that it's important for you to show the value of what that is going to bring to that person's life, especially if it's sort of coaching. I know a lot of people are doing coaching and nutrition and stuff in this group, and not many, you know, if you've experienced coaching before, then you know what you're buying, right? But if you've never experienced coaching before, you've got no idea what it's going to be like. You know, it's sometimes nice to put yourself back in your shoes, when you were the shoes that you were in 5 or 10 years ago, when you hadn't bought a coaching package before, you'd never, you know, bought some kind of alternative therapy before. You know, you're uncertain. Nobody wants to look like an idiot, and no one wants to waste their money. So you look at, you know, people as, you know, really holding their hand and serving them. And I think if you take off the offer off the table in the first instance, from the very beginning of the call, what that does is it frees you up. First of all, it stops that tension from building up at all throughout the whole call. And so what it does, you can just have a chat, and you can just serve that person like 100% fully, and they can get a real experience of like, oh man, this is Henri, you know, really serving me. And then I'll say at the end, and then, you know, some people frame it as like, okay, well, let's have another call. And in that other call, like, I'll come together with a few ideas, and maybe, you know, and then maybe that's when I'll give you the offer. You know, maybe that's when there'll be something that a program that I have might fit for you. Maybe, you know, that's when to do it.
So this is coming back to the mindset thing. This is basically, this is just giving yourself a chance, not to give yourself more crap to get caught up in your head. You're looking
definitely
to clear the deck, be in the moment, and
100%,
and just give yourself a chance to be in flow and in connection with the person, with what's going on.
100%. And when I say book another session, I don't mean it doesn't have to be another session. It depends on what you are, and, you know, your way of going about things. Maybe you can, you're skilled enough to identify, okay, once you know that there's that tension there, maybe you can, you know, deflate that tension, you know, really easily. And you're very skilled at doing that, and you're very skilled at making people feel at ease. And that's fine. If, you know, whatever works for you, you know, I never say, you know, this is how it should be done and you should do it this way, because everyone works in different ways. And so whatever makes sense to you is the way to do it. But if people are having trouble with that part of, which is so common, and, you know, I've been through it, I've had it so many times where, you know, I especially, you know, a few years ago when I first started, I still get it. You know, the thing is, you still get it. It doesn't matter how well you understand it. You do still get that little bit of anxiety and that little bit of feeling, because especially if it's someone you really want to work with, you really want them to say yes. And but it's just about being aware of that and just trying to park it and just trying to say, right, well, let's just keep connecting. But what I found was really unhelpful is I had some business coaches did this business coaching course, and they were really rigid in terms of their structure. So they would say, right, you know, you do whatever your free call is, and then halfway through, that's when you give them the offer, and you give them a, you know, money back guarantee, and you give them testimonials and da 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 da, which then gives you enough time to kind of finish the call up and, you know, summarize what you've done and all this stuff. And the thing is that when you're really connected with the moment in front of you, and when you're really connected with the client, that's when it will make sense to make an offer.
Well, that's when you know what the offer is, isn't it? I mean, that's when you
exactly.
This conversation I had this afternoon, you go, you know, I did pre-frame it, as you said, Henry, but there's still a lot of stuff going in my head because I was listening to him talking. I'm thinking, what can I offer? What is the right answer for this person? And suddenly caught myself doing it. I thought, let's just sit with it. Let's find out where he is. Let's find out what he wants, and then I can sit back, and I've given myself space to go away and consider what he wants and consider what I can offer him, rather than just kind of trying to squeeze it all into that moment where it's all kind of tense anyway. It just seems bonkers. I'm going to
absolutely
you on, Henry, because you
sure.
Emma, because was it Emma who was
Emily,
and she was asking about her money mindset and how that fit into it all.
Yes. Okay. Can I just make one quick point on what you just mentioned there, though, is that's 100% like, if you're thinking, oh, what package is right, or I'm not sure, it's way more professional, in my view, to go, do you know what? I don't want to recommend the wrong package for you. I want to make sure, I don't want to recommend the wrong package. Say, I just want to make sure I get it 100% right. I'm not going to tell you about my package. Let me go away and let me just digest this call and have a think about it. And then can I come back to you at another time? I think there's a real professionalism in that kind of patient approach, and showing that you don't want to jump into something as well. And you want to make sure it's the right thing. It's the right fit for that client. So like I said to you and mentioned before, is that we can't control our thinking. When it is going crazy like that, that's just an opportunity for you to go, do you know what? If I offer something now, it's going to be the wrong decision. Like, let's just see if we just take a bit of time here. You know, I'm not going to offer you anything right now. Let me go away and think about it. But yeah, so go into the comments. Like, Andrea had a really great comment, which was the fact that we see people as clients at all is a block. And that's kind of what we were just talking about there, is like, you know, really just serving that human being in front of you. That's going to give you the best chance to get into a space whereby making an offer actually makes sense.
What's the difference to your head, because between seeing them as a client and not seeing them as a client in this context?
In this context, whereby you're seeing somebody as a client, you're seeing them as a person who's going to give you, well, it depends. There's a lot of thinking that comes up when you say the word client. So when I think of the word client, I think of somebody, a relationship which is formed between a specialist and a person who is seeking help. And there's some kind of transfer of money or transfer of value between those two people. And that's the relationship I see when I see a client. Where before they've actually paid you any money, they're not a client. I wouldn't say they're a client. They're a human being that is just seeking help. And whereby you can see that person as just somebody that you really want to help, and they might not ever pay you any money, and they might not ever be a client as such. When they do turn into clients, they're still human beings, just to make sure. Yeah. But
yeah, so what happens to Henry when he gets
yeah, exactly. Oh no. But yeah, so making that distinction, for me, it's like, look, this person might not ever pay me, and I'm totally fine with that, because all I want to do is just make sure that I can give like a good account of my services to that person, so that at least they know 100% what I do and how I can help them. And hopefully I can help them. And if I help them in, you know, a session or 2 sessions, and they go away and that changes their life and I never see them again, that's awesome. Like, that's awesome. And if they become a client, that's awesome as well. That's fine. Both of those things are absolutely fine.
And then we're back to where we were before, isn't it? We're back to having a clear mind and not having the...
Definitely. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Definitely. And I think it's a far stronger position to come from when you're offering stuff as well, is that you're really genuinely out there to help people. Because most people who do this kind of consultancy work, coaching work, therapeutic work, the reason they get into it is because they want to help people. And the money is a byproduct of helping people. That's the way I see it. It's, you help enough people, you will get what you deserve. It's like it's a numbers game in a way, in that sense. If you can reach enough people, you'll find a couple that will go, yeah, all right, I'll pay you.
Well, we do like trying to get people increasing the odds there, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. But then also, by being connected, you're also increasing your odds every time you're in that situation as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think we spoke, like Emily had a point that she raised as well, which was, I realized I had a great launch and attracted great clients, then subsequently slowed my client flow. I'm not sure why. It could be worthiness. Maybe I'm intimidated by success. It could be a whole number of things, Emily. But what I've put down here is human beings are kind of, we have a tendency to really overthink things and try to find meaning and try to make sense of things that maybe they don't need to make sense. Like the nature of business, if you're watching this, they're all business owners, aren't they, in the group, Meg? Yes. Mostly. And so the nature of business is up and down, isn't it? Like sometimes you've got clients, sometimes you've got less clients, sometimes, you're having good conversations, sometimes you have a day where you have a load of, really rubbish conversations, sometimes you can't get into conversations. It's a really fluid, just a fluid practice, and it's a fluid because it just mirrors 100% our experience of life, which is completely all over the place. And the thing is that if you go searching for answers why something's happened, you'll find something. Like if you say, oh, maybe it's because I'm intimidated by success, if you go and think that, oh, maybe it's because I'm intimidated by success, your logical brain will convince you that that's the reason why. But that doesn't mean it's the reason why. For me,
the amount of years I've gone through looking for patterns and things, something's not working and it's not working. So it's okay. What's the new reason I'm going to have? It's got to be this, and you want it to be that thing. And so you throw everything at fixing that thing, and then the problem's still there. It's not, there are things you can do to make it easier, but finding something to blame doesn't necessarily help it at all, does it?
Yeah, it's not like a linear, there's no linear relationships out there in terms of, okay, well, that happened, so that means this, or that happened and that means this. But for me, it comes back down to that experience of being preoccupied or being connected with exactly the moment that's in front of you. So Emily talked about how she had a great launch and attracted loads of great clients. For me, when I see that, I'm thinking that's a person who's in her flow. She's connected. She's really speaking from the heart, and she's had a great launch, and she's managed to attract the clients to her because she was connected to the moment and she was connected to her clients. Then it slowed down. Like for me, all it happened is perhaps Emily just got preoccupied with something and wasn't getting that connection. She wasn't getting that connection with the clients that she was speaking to. She wasn't getting that connection to the moment in front of her. So that's the way I see it. And the beautiful thing about that is that you've got another moment, like say round the corner. It's like, it's gone already. There's another one. It's gone. There's another one. It's gone. It's so.
I get it. Because I'm going to watch the time a little bit. Try and keep this short. We definitely had a really good chat on this, but
yeah, this is great.
I know, that's a problem, isn't
Yeah.
it? What I was going to say was, yeah, I've forgotten now. Damn it. So it's how do you get that connection back then? If you haven't got the connection, you had the connection, you've not got the connection. How do you get it back?
So the beauty of it is, okay, so how do you get it back? That's such a great question. So what my experience of doing this type of work has taught me is that the more you can identify when you're not connected, the more you're able to kind of nip it in the bud, if that makes sense.
Right.
And so it makes the ability to connect easier when you realize when you're not connected. It's a slightly paradoxical, but so for example, when I had that conversation in my head in the car, I managed to identify that I wasn't connected to the moment. And then I was like, right, okay, that was weird. That was funny. But essentially there's lots of different ways that you can do it. So meditation is a way of bringing your conscious awareness back to the moment.
Yeah.
Mindfulness is a way of bringing your awareness back to the moment. Diaphragmatic breathing, or some people call it centering or anchoring. So bringing your attention back to your breath is a really good way of bringing your attention to your breath. It's very difficult to think about lots of stuff when you're really concentrating on your breath. So there are a few sort of techniques that can clear your mind, if that makes sense.
And it's one of those things that gets easier.
Absolutely. But fundamentally, it's those three ways are kind of vehicles of bringing yourself back to the now. But when you understand that you're actually always in the now, that you don't need a vehicle to bring yourself back, you're actually always just connected, and it's just your own thought processes that take you away from that. That's where the power of the work is that I do with people is try to get people into that space far more often than we're used to. Yeah.
So this is what you're doing, because Henri's actually launching a short course. You tell us
That's right.
in a second. Master your mindset, master your life.
Yes.
This, I'm guessing from what we've talked, I think it's lovely with the circle we've come around, because it feels like that's
Yeah.
What I'm going to talk to people about, isn't it?
Great segue, huh? That's a great segue. Superb. It's like you've done this before. You should be like on a late night show or something and doing interviews on there. Yeah, you got it. You've got it. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I suppose, yeah, we've talked about it in some quite good detail there in terms of the approach that I have to the mind and how our thinking and how our feeling. So basically all that thinking usually comes with an emotion and a feeling as well. And we go, oh, I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling nervous. And lots of people think that those feelings are telling them about something in the outside world. So I'll give you a good example is I went to an event last night, and I'm pretty confident. I don't know if you can hear this over the video. I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty good in social situations, but I hate it when I'm on my own and I'm going into a big group of people that I don't know. And it's like a bit awkward and I feel a bit anxious. But I know that those feelings of anxiety, they don't know about the party. They don't know if I'm going to have a good time. They don't know anything about the future for sure. And then somebody commented on my little post on Facebook and they said, oh, I get anxious when I get out of my comfort zone. Now, the response I would have to that is, do you ever feel anxious when you're in your comfort zone? Maybe yes, maybe no. But then also, do you ever get out of your comfort zone and you don't have experiences of anxiety? I would imagine yes. And I would imagine that you feel anxious when you're in your comfort zone as well. So
we're back to we're looking for
we're back to, yeah, and like we're back to that kind of, oh, I've got this feeling of anxiety. Where's it coming from? Where's it coming from? Oh, it must be because I'm out of my comfort zone. And then what happens is that when you create that link, your brain just goes there immediately and goes, oh, it's because I'm out of my comfort zone. Oh, it's because I ate chocolate. It's because I didn't do my run today or whatever. And so because you then reinforce that relationship and you reinforce that connection, it becomes something that happens so quickly that it feels like it must be true, but it's not true. That's not how it works, because how could your feelings ever tell you about anything other than what you're feeling in this moment? It can't be possible. It can't be possible.
Give us a quick breakdown of the structure of your course then. I'm winding you up.
Yeah. So 6 weeks, starts on the 1st of April. It's a mixture of live videos where I'm going to be talking about some content. There's going to be group coaching, so that's weekly, and then assignments as well. So a weekly assignment. Okay. Yeah, so it's pretty intense. But it's 6 weeks, and master your mindset and master your life. Essentially, because this understanding, when you get this understanding and that feeling of connection, it feeds into all different areas of your life. So from a business point of view, you can see how it can help you when you're closing the sale, but it can also help you in your relationships with your spouse or with your kids, or when you're, a bit upset about stuff, or when you're feeling a bit low. So it really does infiltrate sort of every part of your life, because your mind is there for every part of your life.
Sure. Sorry to interrupt you, Henry. So
that's
basically, people, it doesn't matter if what you just bring your own thing with you, your own mindset issue, and you're going to work on that over the 6 weeks.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that because what I'd love is for people to come and have something that they want to achieve in that 6 weeks. And I can almost guarantee that with this understanding, you're going to start seeing whatever challenge you're facing in a different way. And so it's whatever people bring, they're gonna solve that problem, essentially, because they're going to start seeing it in a completely different way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I know there's a couple of people in the group who will know what this is about and will understand what it's about. It's it sounds really interesting, Henry. It sounds really valuable. I mean, I know, knowing you, that it's obviously making a massive difference to your life.
Massively.
So basically, if what we've said is if anybody is interested in the course, pop a yes in the comments. Henry, I'm going to put this up on the group on Sunday, Henry. So just so you know. Cool. And then, like you said, in the comments, pop a little yes in the comments. Just say you'd like some more information, and Henry will get in touch with you, and you can work it out between you. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Henry. I really enjoyed our chat.
Thank you for having me. I always enjoy our chats. It's kind of a bit weird to have it recorded and broadcast, but also not weird either, because it's just been exactly the same as what we always do.
It's been brilliant. Do it again, definitely. Thanks a lot,
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Take care. Bye.